Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside.
Hey scrappers, Tom here from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. This is pre-recorded, so apologize for not being able to answer some of your live questions. But if you do have those questions, please make sure you ask them and we'll get to those next week. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos. We have videos that come out all the time for our YouTube subscribers. If you're a member only, you actually get early access to a lot of the videos. But we have hundreds and hundreds of videos teaching you how to make more money with your scrap, from taking apart water heaters to talking about different types of brass and separating copper wire. So check those things out. So here we are. A week has gone by. We had Memorial Day, right? We had a little bit of trade talk in there, but nothing crazy has happened. So what do I see going into the month of June? Because this is not live, so I'll give you previews. We're now about 45 days into the pause of the liberation tariffs from early April, maybe 50 days in. So all of a sudden we see a 30 to 50 day window with countries other than China starting to close, right? Now we've seen trade deals with the United Kingdom. We're starting to see some trade talks with the European Union. But where do I see these going? I do see deals being made, but I see them being delayed until the end of August to see 70–80% of these deals really taking hold. The good thing is I do think that any of the trade problems that we're having are going to be paused, just like we saw Trump put a bit of a pause on the European Union, as progression is actually being made on these different deals. That being said, don't be surprised to see massive changes in markets. On Friday, for instance, Trump came out and said, I'll just go with blah, 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 and copper prices jumped 20 cents. Was it because the dollar was weakened? Was it because the euro gained strength? Was it off of things? Yeah, some of that. But those are going to be the blips in the market that happen, because as I'm recording this on Tuesday, the 27th, we saw the market go down 11 cents after going up 18 cents. So it's hard to figure out some of these numbers and figure out where they're going. But what we can tell you is the only metal that we've said to hold has been stainless steel. So your coppers, your aluminums, your brasses, your catalytic converters, your steel products, get them out as quickly as you get them in your truck. I don't see those markets having a huge increase. Although I'll say this, steel markets have really bottomed their way out. And we're hearing announcements that they're going to be pumping more oil out of the Middle East, which is going to be pushing down prices even further when it comes to oil and transportation. So that may help with some of the refining that we're seeing out there, but I still don't see huge upside when it comes to steel pricing and those markets when it comes to the U.S. domestic production until the fourth quarter of 2025. Now, I've been wrong many times, and my crystal ball has been foggy more times than it's been clear. But over this summer, I don't see like $100 a ton being added to the steel markets. There's no rhyme or reason for that. So when we're looking at bullishness, we're trying to say, okay, well, where is the growth going to come? We talked about server farms being built and this power of AI, but you're only going to need relatively small amounts of metal to be able to build these things, to be able to push them forward, to be able to have growth. So when you have those different opportunities to see that growth happening, sometimes it takes a little while, and that's what we're seeing right now. So steel prices, I don't see them maturing or growing in any way until the fourth quarter of this year. And to me, growing or going up $20 a ton does not impress me, especially when we've seen 100 plus a ton disappear from the markets. So we're looking at these markets and we're really saying to ourselves, all right, how long is it going to take? And the answer is probably 6 months to figure this stuff out. It could be towards the end of this year, because think about it. You have trade deals that need to be done. You're not going to have factories that are going to be built in the fourth quarter. You may have things starting to be permitted, right? Starting to be pushed out there, but not materialized until probably 2026. And a lot of these pushes are to be done and started by this time last year going into the summer of 26 to be able to start to see these markets growing, to start to see these markets really picking up steam. I just don't see that happening in the next few months. Nickel, however, that's one of the few metals that I've said to you for months and months and months. You got to hold on to your nickel products. Stainless steel is still just in the tank, not going anywhere. Sure, they're talking about new markets emerging, but this has been hearsay for many months. So when you have a national average for stainless, 304 stainless being sold like 32 cents a pound, your upside is double, your downside is half. So do you want to risk making another 32 cents a pound? Maybe losing 16 cents, but you can see what we have here on the chart: 40 cents, 33 cents, 36 cents, 32 cents, 20 cents. Really, really poor market swings, and we don't see a lot of upside happening. Now, if you take something like Bear Bright, for instance, and we can talk about copper for a little while, we've seen an upside for Bear Bright. We've seen an upside. Look at some of these prices: 347, 351, 355. Okay. 490 is definitely not a real number. That one has to get thrown out. 308, right? You can see different ranges in the country that have moved the 45-day average to slightly positive, but these 45 days go all the way to when the tariffs kind of took effect in the beginning of April, and you can see where these market movements have been. Now, using the iScrap app, finding out prices in your area or outside of your area help. We had customers drive from West Virginia over the weekend to our yard in Rockaway, New Jersey, because our prices were 55 cents a pound higher. Now, they only come up once a year, but they save all of their copper. They generally make a trip during a long weekend. They've told us this before. We come up here because of the transparency that you've shown us and the higher prices that we can, walk out with. So you show up with 3,000 pounds of copper, which many of you do hold that much material. Well, 3,000 pounds, 50 cents, that's a $1,500 swing. Even after paying for fuel, which might be a few $100, you still could be up over $1,000, and that's serious money. And when you start to look around in your local yards, a lot of these yards are really good businesses, but they don't have good business sense where they look ahead and they try to see the forest through the trees. Where Rockaway Recycling, what we've tried to do is enable our customers to learn about material. And if they don't want to sell to us, that's okay, because we have enough regular customers that do. Because many of you that are cashing in a few times a year on all of your hard work, you want to be able to use our YouTube videos, use our tutorials to give you hints on how to make more money. And then once you get that price at the scrapyard, you can report it on the app. That's only going to help you and other scrappers moving forward. And listen, anyone that tells me, oh, I don't want to help anyone else, well, Reddit boards say otherwise, YouTube comments say otherwise. Helping other people out, telling us what we can do, that's going to help improve the iScrap app. That's going to help improve the information that we push out there. That's going to improve the information that you get and just give you better feedback on local markets as well as national markets to help the growth cycle continue. What else is going on with these markets? Catalytic converters, let's talk about those. Last week, we saw some of the highest markets on CATs as of Wednesday and Thursday, 22nd, 23rd. We did start to see some of those prices pull back a little bit at 21st, 22nd. We did see platinum pull back a little bit. We're hoping to see some promising news with some type of a standstill or a pause with Russia and this invasion, and nothing really happened. We're not sure if that's what kind of jumped the markets or decreased the markets, but catalytic converter news has been far and few between in the positive side of things. As much as we look out for it, we're not getting that solid commitment on market pricing, which makes it tough to push forward. But the team at rrcats.com continuing to quote your OEM and aftermarket catalytic converters, giving you 10-day price locks on OEMs and free shipping on all of your OEM catalytic converters. So check the team out at rrcats.com today if you haven't already. Don't forget, you have a lot of cats. We'd love to offer you bulk shipping or bulk pricing options as well. Now, a few markets I'll talk about that may not affect you heavily. Carbide, for instance, a lot of people want to find carbide, but I take a very strong opinion. Make sure you know what you're looking for. Not all drill bits are made the same. So if you have carbide bits, you want to make sure that you see the letter W, which stands for tungsten, stamped on that drill bit. That gives you the ability to know that it's based with tungsten, opposed to an item that just could be steel or high speed steel. But rrcarbide.com has seen a very large uptick in carbide pricing, rising between 50 cents and $1 per pound over the last 30 days. So check that out too, because a lot of good numbers out there. Now, what am I looking for going into May? I'm looking for fuel costs to continue to slide as they did go into Memorial Day, because now we're about 4 weeks away from the 4th of July. That's a huge number. And I do think that we're going to start to see those fuel prices continuing to fall. Unfortunately, I don't see any increase in the steel markets this summer. Again, 10 to 30 bucks a ton is not an increase. That's just a small incremental, the mills need more product and they're willing to give the scrap yards a little more. That doesn't impress me. We need trade deals. We need agreements. We need demand. All three of those are being worked on, but not all three of those are being put into fruition right now. So until we start to see that happening, we're just going to hold tight ourselves. So, aluminum markets slightly down, nothing to go crazy over. We're starting to see a little bit of an uptick in demand, but again, summers are difficult to really judge. Brass has followed suit with copper. Yellow brass average in the 215 to 220 range nationally. Copper prices slightly up week over week, but again, I take that a little bit false, because there was a quick run up Friday afternoon. Tuesday, we started to see this push down in markets. I do think that we'll continue to see that push its way down. And steel markets, nothing to go crazy on, and catalytic converters continuing their status quo run of the last 6 months. Although, if you were lucky enough to get some price increases last week, we did start to see a bit of a price increase coming out there when we look at the overall markets. Now, today is Wednesday, May 28th. We are not live, but please ask your questions so we can get to them. We will be returning next week on Wednesday, June 3rd. Wednesday, June 4th. We'll be going over your questions, live updates, and anything else that comes our way. So keep those questions coming. This way we can get them answered for you. If you have any other questions, you just let the team here at iScrap App and Rockaway Recycling know. Scrappers, my name is Tom Bouchel from Rockaway Recycling and the iScrap App. Today's Wednesday, May 28th. Happy 91st birthday, Grandma. I hope that everyone is doing well. And until next week, I'll scrap you later.